membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my. Bagaimana membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my.
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all participants for today's coffee talk. I hope everyone is in a good health, and also energetic to join our coffee talk this morning. This is in conjunction with the OUM Info Day. I am Puan Sharifah, Rosfashida, the moderator for today's coffee talk. And I am also the Program Director for Master of Facility Management in the Faculty of Technology and Applied Sciences. So the title of our coffee talk this morning is COVID-19 Pandemic Preparedness, period, through Healthcare Facility Manager's Eye. First, let me have a warm welcome to our guest speaker, Mr. Muhammad Samson Mikail bin Abdullah. Mr. Sam, how are you this morning?
Sehat, Alhamdulillah. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Puan Sharifah and our OUM team.
Yeah, I think I'm glad, and also thank you very much for lending your precious time, Mr. Sam. I know you are quite busy. So, in terms of to share your experiences in the area of healthcare facilities. Alright. Okay, let me just briefly introduce our speaker this morning. Mr. Muhammad Samson Mikail bin Abdullah received his diploma in mechanical engineering, way back in 1998, and later he continued with his degree also in mechanical engineering in the year 2001. So later, he continued by enrolling a Masters of Facility Management in Open University Malaysia in the year 2020, right, Mr. Sam? Right? And now, to my surprise, you are still with us as one of our learners here, and you are doing your second Masters in Business Administration, right? Okay. So he is currently the General Manager of Asset and Facility Management Services in KPJ Healthcare Berhad, right? Okay. He has over 20 years experience in managing the healthcare facilities. So I would say you have vast experience and experts in the healthcare facilities. So Mr. Sam, maybe you can share with us in terms of your experiences, the roles and responsibilities of your current post at the moment.
I started my working career in a construction company just after graduation. So I was there for probably about 2 years. Then I began my healthcare experience with Redicare in Berhad. Redicare is one of the construction company for MOH, where we are overseeing 48 hospitals at that time. All the hospital dekat Lembah Kelang, wilayah Selangor, and East Coast dekat Pahang, Terengganu and Kelantan. So I was there for 7 years. For 7 years. So we did a lot of with MOH and setting up all these policies and guidelines. So then I further my career with Parkway Pantai, so as the head of facility management for Malaysia operation. Then I continue my career with Puncak Niaga, where we prepared Hospital UiTM Shah Alam in Puncak Alam, setting up the facility management team. Then now I'm with KPJ doing the same thing, looking after the SIM facility for Malaysia region.
Right. Okay, Mr. Sam, maybe you can just give us a bit of overview of the background of the current healthcare facilities that you are managing right now.
Right. Yeah. So next slide, please. So what we're going to do today, this morning, is that next slide, please. We're going to cover a little bit about KPJ, who are we, and we're going to talk about facility management, how we relate facility management in our current operation. Then we're going to share what are those key elements that in setting up our operation day-to-day policies and activities lah. Further than that, then kita akan explain on how KPJ prepare ourselves in this COVID-19 punya pandemic. Then probably later on kita akan explain how OUM program can help in terms of setting up all these key element in operation activities. Right. So next slide. So at a glance, this KPJ is all about. So this information kita boleh dapat juga dekat our annual report.
Yeah.
We have our vision. Of course, our vision is to be the preferred healthcare providers, and our mission is that to deliver quality healthcare services now. You know, when I did my master in MBA, how we look at vision and mission sekarang ni slightly lain. You know.
Right.
So again, during my this year punya subject strategy management, I would like to thank Dr. Richard. How we look at things are different through education, and I wanted to stress on our core value kat sini. If you look at the first core value kat sini, is ensuring safety.
Right.
So those are the things that important in terms of making sure that everything is aligned. Next slide, please. So this is where we are at the moment. So KPJ ada 28 hospital dekat Malaysia, 1 ACC dekat Kinrara, 1 universities, and 4 senior and assisted living care. This is all dekat Malaysia lah. And then dekat outside Malaysia, kita ada 2 hospital dekat Indonesia, 1 hospital dekat Thailand, and then satu dekat Bangladesh, and 1 retirement home dekat Australia, dekat Brisbane.
You are embarking outside Malaysia.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good to know. Yeah.
Betul. Right. So next slide, please. So here are the list of our hospitals. So kalau sakit tu silakan datang. Well, KPJ will be glad to give you a good quality service lah. So in order to for more information apa semua, just head to our website and all the information is there.
Alright. Okay, Mr. Sam. So coming back to FM, facility management in terms of your day-to-day operation, So how do you integrate the FM profession, in terms of the built environment and taking into consideration the healthcare facilities itself?
So again, the concept of this facility management is clear. So by understanding the concept, then we can implement it anywhere in any facility, not just in the healthcare industries. So FM is basically all about the functionalities of that facility itself, the equipment, the building itself. How does it provide comfort to the users, to the occupants?
Right.
And how do we make sure that it is safe for everybody in that particular building, right? And how efficient is the equipment that we have in our system to come up with the expected outcome? Now, this covers the built environment where it integrates people perspective, it integrates places, our asset, it integrate the processes, macam mana kita buat on our daily operation to make sure that all these 4 element tadi tu is being complied, right? And also technology. What are those technologies that we use to make things better, to make things easier for us to achieve those 4 elements atas tadi tu?
What about the hardcore and soft facilities? Maybe you can elaborate on that.
Okay, so the hard FM and soft FM, if you look at the slides, the hard FM is more on the asset punya activities. How does this asset contribute to this outcome? The soft FM is more on how do we make sure that people perspective delivering all this soft FM. Soft FM, if you look at the next slide, sorry, okay, so sorry. Kita come back to that 11 competencies.
11 competencies.
So later I will explain to you what are those hard FM and soft FM. But what we need to know is that hard FM is more on the asset punya management. The soft FM is more on how do we manage people to deliver all this outcome that we expected.
Right. Okay, we also have, like just now, Mr. Sam actually elaborate on the IFMA competencies, yeah. So IFMA is actually the International Facility Management Association, yeah. So it was founded way back in 1980. So that is the world largest association, which recognized in terms of the FM professionals, practitioners. And also we also have another one in UK, which is IWFM. So it is Institute Workplace of Facility Management, yeah. So that also can be another points where you can actually refer to your SOPs, your guidelines based on their best practices that they have highlighted and share in terms of IWFM professionals. So in Malaysia, we also have our association, which is Malaysian Association of Facility Management. Yeah. So with the association, actually the practitioners and also the academic can comes in and voice out in terms of the FM activities in Malaysia, and also we can actually assist in terms of the government, the projects which related to FM itself. Yeah. All right. Okay. Coming back, Mr. Sam. All right. So based on the core competencies that you have highlighted, how do you customize or you fit or translate it into your setting day-to-day operation of your facility? Yeah.
So the 11 core competency is very important for facility manager to deal with day-to-day activities. If you look at the listing again, this is the list of 11 core competency that a facility manager have to have, and this is based on IFMA. So memang banyak, memang susah nak memorize. So bila masuk OUM tu dia jadi the next slide please. Dia jadi ni chef OPQRS. So that's how you memorize it. That's how I memorize
your
this.
Recipe.
Betul, banyak sangat nak ingat kan. So all this item ni, it helps a facility managers in managing the facilities better, in communicating, in delivering what are the outcome that's required. So if you look at the next slide, so these are the detailings. I wouldn't go so much on the detailings. I think the audience pun dah ada slides ni. But let's talk about communication. The communication is basically how does a facility managers deliver the message to people, to the listeners, to the audience, so that the intended result can be materialized, the outcome tu boleh. So those are the communication is very important kat sini.
So you have the communication plan?
Betul. So you have to have the communication plan. You have to have the communication skills. So those are one of the competency for facility managers. Of course, other than communication, quality is also important. Quality kalau tengok kat sini, I stress out on the key performance indicators. So you have to have the key performance indicators in order for you to benchmark where you are and what's your performance is. Of course, when you deal with a lot of outsourcing, this is where the service level agreement have to be in, and the KPI have to be part of the monitoring punya parameters. Again, some of the important element dekat 11 core competency ni is finance. If you look at finance and businesses, again, some facility managers are engineers and background dia lain. Some are asset apa semua. But I think for business punya language is always about finance.
Correct. You must be all-rounders. Yeah.
Betul. So facility managers have to be well versed with finance and also business punya sense, business minded lah. So that's where again the MBA comes in to help lah. So the next slide. So another important core competency dekat sini, if you look at this, is that the emergency preparedness planning and the business continuity. COVID hits all industries. So if the industry do not have any emergency plan or risk management on this is where some organization do not prepare for this. So you always have to have this business continuity plan, right? So those are some of the core 11 core competencies that a facility manager should have.
I see. All right. And then based on the core competencies that you have highlighted, which the FM should actually incorporate. So how do you design in terms of setting up your operational elements? Yeah.
So in KPJ, this is basically my role, guys. So we make sure that there's governance take place, meaning that kita dekat HQ ni, we know all our 28 hospitals are in good hand. So we identified those gaps and we try to close those gaps as soon as possible. So those are the things that the governance play a major role kat sini. We also introduce culture change where we want to make sure that everybody owns that issues or own that problem, so that kita boleh be accountable of that issues and be responsible. So it's not a one person punya effort, it's a cumulative, it's a team punya effort. And compliance is always important, where in terms of people punya perspective, people in terms of asset and facility, in terms of processes, the technology, it have to comply with, it's either the guideline or probably statutory requirements. So if you look at areas where I involve in KPJ is that kita involve on engineering punya perspective and also the non-engineering, we call it the non-clinical support service. So this is again the hard FM and the soft FM comes in. So the hard FM is more on the equipment, the system. Kita ada FAMS and BAMS. FAMS is more on facility, relates to mechanical, electrical and civil punya item. BAMS is more on medical equipment. So now, for Sharifah, what is the difference between BAMS and FAMS? Facility and biomedical, how do we differentiate this?
I'm not sure, maybe you can share with us.
So biomedical equipment are those equipment that touches a human being directly. This definition come from MOH. So MOH punya definition of biomedical equipment is whatever equipment or device that touches a human being. So those we consider biomedical. So for those yang indirectly affect human being, macam aircon tak kena kita, lampu tak kena kita. So those falls under facilities management. So those falls under FAMS.
Alright.
So if you look at this kan, when banyak sangat benda, how do we manage? What do we do? So this is where the concept of people, places, process and technology comes in. Next slide, please. So what we did is that kita break those areas into these processes, into this section, where we break it into people punya perspective. We break it into places. Places kat sini kita refer to asset and facilities. Kita break it into processes. We break it into technology. What technology are we going to use to make sure that this implementation is being done? Now I add another element kat sini is quality improvement. Quality improvement is very important because you have to improve. You cannot be stagnant all the time. From one year to another year, kita stagnant. That doesn't work. So you have to improve certain elements. So that's where the momentums get going. Now, if you look at people kat sini, we break it down into a few more items kat sini. Competency. We have to make sure that our staff kat hospital ni, are they competent? If they are not competent, then how do we make them competent? Do we send them for training? Do we send them for another education punya awareness or something? You know, we want to make sure that everybody is competent in what they're doing. Right? So those are the gaps yang kita nampak. So compliance, of course, compliance. Again, if you look at all these areas, compliance is all over the place. Compliance in terms of manpower kita, do we have the right people at that position? Contohnya, if a facility require a charge man, then the competent, the compliance will say that this charge man should be A4 or probably A1 or probably BO or B4 for that matter. You know, so the compliance have to be there. Of course, setting up the KPIs to make sure that kita dekat KPI kita ada 28 hospital. So we want to make sure that everybody have this. We evaluate people at the same parameters. So this is where we set up a KPI. So everybody will have the same KPI, right? So we will look at the gaps gitu. Kalau dia short in certain KPI, then how we improve them so that everybody at par. So I wouldn't go so much on this. Asset and facility. Asset and facility is very important. Now, if you are a facility manager, the first thing you need to know is what asset do you have? What location in the building do you have? So in this case, macam dekat hospital, we have the clinical area, the wards, apa semua. We have the high risk area, the high critical area, the OT complex, the ICU. So we have to identify this. And then asset pula, kita nak kena tahu what asset do we have. So this element sendiri, every element tu is something that we can do. Is a non-stop punya activity. Of course, the next one is risk. What happens if your facility fails? What happens if there's fire, flood? So what do we need to do kat sini? So how do you make sure that business always continue dekat sini?
What about your risk register?
Betul. So you have to know how to do your risk register, identifying risk and then managing that risk. Right? So I wouldn't go so much kat sini again. Process SOP is there, compliance juga. So your SOP have to comply with certain guidelines apa semua, right?
Alright. Okay. As we know right now, hospitals have been in the world's focus since the COVID-19 hit, and we can see that hospitals are running 24 hours in the operation, and currently we are into the post-pandemic, as well as into the endemic phase. But before that, the scenarios that we are facing, we can see that long lines of patients, overcrowded in terms of the emergency departments. We can see that many hospitals actually convert their parking lot, turn into the triage areas. We can see that. So all these images were on the news nightly, Mr. Sam. So in terms of, I think it's a worldwide issue, global issue, where in terms of preparedness, so very important. So what do you think of that?
Nobody prepares for COVID-19 sebenarnya. We thought it's just a common flu, but it's not. It's deadlier than that. So again, the history of COVID come from China, and then we have our first report in 2020. Now, last year, when the case rises, government hospital couldn't cope. So through this emergency ordinance, they basically instruct private hospital to accept COVID patient now. Private hospital do not design for pandemic. So that's the issues really. So now we are bringing in COVID patients to come in. So what do we do? What do we need to prepare also? How do we need to prepare also? So those are the thinking caps that we need. Bukan just KPJ, tapi I think the whole private hospital have the same issues on how are we going to do this. So in every private hospital, they have their own strategy. They have their own objective in managing COVID-19. So next slide, please. So we come up with this objective. We want to protect our caregivers. That's the most important thing. When the COVID patients come in, how do we protect our caregivers from this virus? So that's the main objective yang kita buat. So who are the caregivers? The caregivers are the doctors, the nurses, the support service provider, the cleaners, those yang bagi food. Those are the caregivers. So the objective here is that how do we protect them from these viruses, right? So again, the method is that exhaust all this air contaminated in that particular room or in that particular area out from the building. Right. So those are the methods that we want to make sure that whatever contaminated air in that building is being exhausted out. How do we do this? Again, the concept of isolation room. I'm not sure if you're familiar with isolation room. A negative pressure isolation room is where a patient with high risk contamination, high risk infection, that it will contain those viruses or those contaminated air so that it will not go outside that isolation room. So it will be exhaust out. Again, bila kita exhaust out, it will be treated with a HEPA filters before it's being released to outside air. So this isolation room concept, this is where we use it in our facilities. So next slide. All right, so what we need to do is that we're going to have a separate entrance to this area, to this designated ward that's specifically for COVID patients, right? So where do we do? How does a patient go through this? So it has to go through an emergency department where they do all the screenings apa semua tu, and then the process of bringing this patient to this dedicated ward, right? The second one is identified wards to be converted especially for COVID patients. So this wards then, sama ada dia the whole ward with many rooms or just particular one or two rooms, but it's a bigger concept of the negative pressure isolation room. So again, this isolation room, the concept of high risk. So this ward is now a high risk area. How do we make sure that whatever contaminated air in that particular ward is exhaust out safely, right? So again, COVID ni dia banyak stage, Stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, 4, 5. Stage 1, stage 2 is a mild symptom. Yeah, a mild. So those patients yang kita letak dekat this dedicated wards. So for category 3 is where they're going to have issues with breathing. Remember, COVID is about respiratory punya issues. Right. It attacks your lung, so it makes the patient difficult to breathe. So this is where the ventilators comes in to help this patient to breathe while recovering, right? So bila dia dah stage 3, meaning that the ventilators is required, is either we monitor dia recover balik to stage 2 or dia falls into stage 4. Now bila dia falls to stage 4, this is where we need to rush to ICU punya isolation room. So again, some hospital our ICU bed are very limited. So this is where some of these patients are being transferred out to the government hospital because they have a better facility. So tuan-tuan dan puan, if an ambulance comes in, you hear an ambulance, please make room for the ambulance to drive through. Sebabnya, the moment that this patient falls into stage 4, it needs critical care in MOH. So you imagine dia dah susah nak bernafas. So in a transport, in an ambulance, in a rush going to ICU. So so those are the things that. So again, stage 4, stage 5, this is where the ventilators comes in. Our normal ward do not have ventilators punya facilities. It's all parked in ICU. So that's why they have to be shifted in ICU.
All right. Yeah.
So again, how do we manage this? We're going to accept patient COVID to our hospital that is not designed for pandemic, right? So what does a facility manager do? So next slide, please. Again, we break it down into this process, this element here. There's people perspective, the asset facility perspective, the processes, the technology that we're going to use. So people perspective, again, when we look at the core competency tadi itu, who are they? We need to identify who are those people that's going to be in that particular COVID ward too. They are the doctors, the nurses. The engineering team will come and off bila ada PPM ataupun breakdown, but they will not be there. So kita identify the support service, the cleaners will be there, right? the F&B personnel, those people akan bagi makan apa semua, the food apa semua, and then the waste collectors apa semua. So we identified who are those people that's going to be in that particular area. Now, lepas kita identified these people punya perspective, we're going to identify pula what are the assets, the facility that we're going to have in that particular COVID ward ni. Kita ada all this doffing area, the lobby is served, the nurse counter is served, where the nurse are going to be there, the corridor, the rooms apa semua. Then kita look at the facility itself, fans, BAMs, apa equipment yang ada, the housekeeping, the trolleys, the cleaner, the waste bin, and F&B kita guna disposable punya item. We cannot go bawa and then clean it in our kitchen lah, tak boleh. It has to be disposed. So we identified this area. Now, doffing and donning, this is a very important area in high risk area ni lah, especially this COVID ni. Donning is where you put on your PPE. Doffing is where you remove your PPE.
I see.
So the best method is a one-way, one entry, one exit. So that when you do your donning,
Right.
meaning that you are entering a high-risk area. Before you leaving that high-risk area, you do doffing. You taking off all your PPE apa semua tu. So that concept, that is a very important concept that we have to make sure that the facility does have this area. Now again, the processes. If there's PPM need to be done, if there's a breakdown, how does our engineers masuk ke dalam this high risk area and do that service?
The flow system.
The flow
You have
system.
to
So
identify.
betul, you have to have that process. Okay, and then how does our support service comes in? Our cleaners. Again, that process too.
Correct.
The cleaning process apa. So all these areas ni, how this element help us in thinking of the processes, the people, the asset, and the technology. The technology ni, of course, now we implement the isolation room punya, negative pressure isolation room punya concept. So those are the technology that we're going to use. The air conditioning, how are we going to exhaust this air contaminated out from this area? And before they exhaust out, how do we treat them before kita discharge kan? Sebab kita tak nak discharge, orang luar kena lah pula, tak? Right? So disinfection punya equipment, how do we disinfect this area after during this service ni? Alright. So the next slide, this is basically the concept of this high risk area ni. Again, you have to remember KPJ punya objective is to protect the caregivers.
Yeah.
Okay. If you look at this diagram ni kan, this is one of the system yang kita pakai dekat KPJ. The exhaust system is dekat luar. Okay. Right at the end where it's being filtered with a HEPA filter before it's exhaust out to outside air. Now, when it creates a negative pressure dekat sini, meaning that whatever air from the door it will be removed, it will exhaust. So by having that concept of protecting the caregivers, bila our nurses, our doctors, our service provider comes into the door, meaning that the patient, whatever the exhale from the patient is already exhaust out. If you notice that kebanyakan our exhaust ni is near the patient punya bed. Sebab whatever they exhale, it will be removed immediately.
I see.
So when the caregivers comes in, it will not be exposed with these viruses or this contaminated air. So that's basically the idea that we have lah. So again, this is just an example of how we retrofit our current facilities to make sure that we prepared for COVID patients. Next slide, please. This is some of the example that we have in application that we have. Right, if you notice our system, exhaust system ni, dia berhampiran dengan patient punya bed. Because whatever exhale ni, we want to quickly capture this to remove it from the room. All this contaminated air to be removed, and before they remove, it will be filtered by HEPA filter so that orang kat luar tak affected by the system. So these are some of the example that we have in our hospital. Next slide, please. So this is where we identified this area as a high-risk area, meaning that whatever air in there stays or removed from that particular area. So dekat luar ni is considered a safe area.
Right.
Beyond this apa namanya plastic sheet ni is considered high-risk area.
I see.
So this is how we manage lah. So when the patients comes in kat sini, then the sanitizing apa semua proses buat lah.
Take place,
So the moment they eat in here, then before kita masuk kat sini, this is where the doffing process comes in lah. Right? Right. So that's how we prepare our hospital in retrofitting these wards. Again, private hospital was not built for pandemic, so we need to do a lot of retrofitting lah kat sini.
Yeah, when you mention the concept of retrofit comes in, I think it's high time, yeah, for us to actually have retrofit programs, okay, where you can design to actually cater for this COVID-19 in terms of our buildings to retrofit. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I think your presentation actually is quite, I think, very comprehensive. The sharing, I think, is its benefit, yeah, in terms of we want to know actually how in terms of the preparedness, yeah, for the pandemic. So the key takeaways I can see that here, yeah, is the setting up of the key elements, which I can relate. It is more of in terms of using principles approach. So you are using the facility management, yeah, the definition which the services, the FM concept actually fit into the people, yeah, the process which you relate with the assets, facilities, the processes and technology. Only that I think I can see that another element that very important is the quality improvement, which you mentioned in terms of all areas that you covered in terms of the operation of the hospitals. Yeah. All right. Maybe you want to add anything else based on your presentation just now? Yeah. Any, yeah.
So in terms of retrofitting, it will be good if a facility or a new hospital comes up nanti, the designer would prepare some areas for this pandemic ni, because again, COVID ni is not something new. It started with SARS. And then it developed to MERS-CoV. Then now we have COVID-19. So again, with COVID-19, banyak pula variants there, right? So it's going to be something continuous dekat sini. So I really hope that the new hospital designers nanti will allocate certain areas just for this, so that you do not need to do any retrofitting next time. So kita dah prepared this particular area for COVID cases contohnya. So COVID teach us so many things, right?
Right. So I think it's good FM to take charge in terms of, well, of course we have many existing healthcare facilities where we can actually have some programs. Maybe you can have like, of course, deep retrofit will requires a lot of, you know, in terms of monetary, I would say research coming in as well, yeah. So maybe FM can actually, especially not necessary for healthcare facilities only, yeah, for other buildings as well.
So this is where OUM Master of Facility Management really helps in terms of making sure that whoever that participate or whoever that enroll in this program meets the 11 core competency, because this 11 core competency, it helps the facility managers to understand the operational punya point of view, the business point of view. So when you look at this slides, the courses that being programmed is designed to fit and to meet the 11 core competency. For example, strategic facility management. So this is where the leadership and strategy punya core competency can be related. Organization and business management, it will teach the facility managers in terms of communication, in terms of human factor, how does this human factors punya element suits in, right? Sustainability, of course, there's a subject on sustainability itself, right? Risk management, ya tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, risk management is so important. Again, COVID-19 ni teach us a lot on risk management and business continuity. So again, it is also one of the module dekat OUM Master of Facility Management Program.
Right. Okay. Coming back to OUM, yeah. So we actually have Master of Facility Management, okay, under the Faculty of Technology Applied Sciences. So it is actually a 2-year program, and it is actually suitable for working adults. So it is part-time basis. So it's actually very flexible for working adults, where we conduct fully online, yeah, Mr. Sam. So we have our class fully online. So we have video conference, forum in place where the learners can actually give input or discuss, yeah, in terms of the current, I would say, and also related to their assignments as well. So if you see here, all the courses is actually tailored to the FM body of knowledge area. So we also have this pro FM body of knowledge areas, yeah, and also the cross-functional elements of the body of knowledge area. So as you can see here, all the courses, let me point out in terms of the sustainable practice in facility management. So this course will actually, now we can see this is the new elements coming in. So very important that you can actually, your day-to-day operation in terms of the sustainability aspect. So when we talk about the sustainability, the 3 pillars comes in, yeah. So talk about the environmental process, so very important, yeah. And then with other courses that covers. Alright. We also have with this program we have a collaboration with the SIRIM, yeah. So when you actually enroll for this program, we have the SIRIM certificate, yeah. So for this course, we have a SIRIM certified facility management system manager, which you will also have the trainings, and also you have to sit for the exam to complete the SIRIM certification. Alright. Besides our master's program, we also have another program which is also aligned in FM. We have Bachelor of Science in Project and Facility Management. So for those, I think, professional and management positions, so you are working in terms of maybe large corporations, so FM is a must, yeah. And even contractors, where you carry out, you have FM or total service providers, yeah. Public building administration, okay, public real estate management, project developers. We can see that construction companies, okay, even when you need to manage infrastructures, so it's good if to actually continue to take up this program, right? So if you have any questions, you can post. So maybe we can take a few questions, yeah, Mr. Sam, from our participants, yeah. Okay. Okay. Let me see. Wow. So best sharing, right? So far. Okay, Mr. Sam, how do you find in terms of doing another masters? Yeah, I find it. I think despite your busyness, your schedule, how do you find the motivation to keep on learning? Yeah.
Okay, good question. Ramai yang menanya. I did my second master in business administration MBA dekat OUM. Why OUM? Because OUM managed to tailor this program for working adults. Myself, I travel almost every week, right? So this program helps me to make sure that I'm always on track kat sini, right? And then I think it based on individual. For me, I like to learn a lot of things, right? There's more that you do not know actually. So bila kita belajar, and bukan setakat just studying, but you have to implement. So this is what I did with Master of Facility Management. Whatever I learned about risk management, I implement that. I learned about sustainability, I implement that. Because I'm not a very good student, but how I managed to understand and to implement this so that I know the subject is to implement it immediately. So sama juga when I did my MBA sekarang ni, there's so many things that I didn't know. While we are doing it, apparently there is a structured way of doing things that we are doing at the moment. So contohnya, again lah, the strategic management subject that I took this semester, it really taught me on how to strategize on things, right? So it is something that I did, but I was not aware that there's a proper structure or framework in doing this. Finance for that matter. Previously, I wouldn't know how to read annual report, but through finance punya subject, now I know what's the performance ratio, what is all those ratios that's coming in. You know, so we understand when you read it, okay, what does it relates to? You know, so there's so many things that OUM can offer that enhance your knowledge and your skills sebenarnya. That's why that motivates me to go further in my second master.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for your sharing, Mr. Sam. Yeah, I think I can see that some of the from the chat button, he said that from Sharifah, such an inspiration for all of us, yeah, to continue and further study. Okay. So they find it very useful and beneficial in terms of the sharing session this morning, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, there's one question. The Master FM course inclusive of healthcare facility management. Okay, basically the master's program designed for a generic any facilities, so which include the healthcare facilities. So usually what we did is we have one course which is the case studies. So from the case studies, we can actually highlight different types of healthcare. So based on the students, their knowledge, their experience from their workplace, they come in and actually they share their knowledge and in terms of sharing the best practices. Yeah. All right. So maybe you want to add a little bit on in terms of the overall courses.
Yeah. This Master of Facility Management program is basically for a wide industries punya application. It can be used in any industries, right? So it doesn't really specific on particular industries. So those specific industry, you will have to go for another courses that specifically just for that. But with this program, it can be applied in all the industries that we have.
Right.
Yep.
But I think it's also a good point if we can have like more elective courses. Betul. Which can cater for healthcare. So we take note on that. Yeah. All right. Okay. So I think at the moment I would like to actually thank you, Mr. Sam, yeah, for your time, okay, and your sharing session for our coffee talk this morning. So we meet again, yeah. So you will be here. In terms of your MBA, are you on the last semester or still doing your project?
No, I'm not. Basically, I'm in my second year, but belum habis lagi.
Second year,
yeah.
Right.
So in my fourth semester.
Fourth semesters,
Yeah.
right. Okay. So later you will also do your master's project, yeah. So it's good, yeah.
Inshallah.
All right. Okay. Maybe the last word for the participants joining the coffee talk this morning. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you for listening. I hope this sharing bring benefit or bring probably slight increase more knowledge.
Eye opener.
Opener on how we at healthcare industry manage this COVID punya scenarios situation.
Right.
So so it's a good sharing session. I hope that everybody's benefit with, on this session. Again, I would like to wish everybody Selamat Hari Raya.
Right.
The one thing that I really hope one day is that the government would give free education for everybody. So this basically enhance the public, the Malaysian to be more knowledgeable in terms of whatever that kita skills that we implement lah. So by doing second master ni, it really something that develop my knowledge, and I hope it will develop everybody's punya knowledge in terms of operational and day-to-day activities.
Right. All right. Okay. Okay, I think we have one question here before we wrap up our coffee talk. Yeah. Good day, Mr. Sam. What would you think about the challenges FM managers would face during this endemic? Now we are talking about the endemic phase. So what do you think of the challenges?
Okay, so I received many questions on what is the most challenging thing that a facility manager or anybody is having. The most challenging thing is handling people. So handling people is difficult. So people in terms of the compliance, in terms of making sure that they are doing the right thing, and then they again compliance lah. Because when you talk about endemic or probably pandemic or probably whatever outbreak, is all about managing that. Make sure that everybody is aligned to all these processes, all this compliance, so that kita boleh manage well. But the problem is that some people do not comply. Bila do not comply, this is where the problems comes in. The problems in terms of regulatory tak comply, in terms of patients to in having difficulty because of the non-compliance. So again, it's all about managing people. It's not about managing the facilities, it's not about managing the equipment or probably benda-benda lain, but making sure that the people perspective to comply. That's the most challenging. It's not just on the hospital punya, the caregivers punya perspective, it's also the patient punya perspective juga. So patient pun ada juga dia punya role dekat sini. If you're a COVID patient, yalah, kita janganlah spread that virus to everybody. You do your quarantine apa semua tu. Again lah, the compliance tu is important. So that's why the government always says that SOP is important. Make sure the SOP is being complied. It's all about compliance.
Right. Okay. Thank you for the input, Mr. Sam. I think that's all from both of us. Yeah. So I think it's a good sharing. So thank you very much for all participants. Yeah, joining the coffee talk this morning. So I hope we can have another sharing. Yeah, in different platform. Yeah. So once again, I think. We stay in the Ramadan month and also the later Selamat Hari Raya, yeah. Okay. So with that, okay, I would say Assalamualaikum and thank you very much.
Bagaimana membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my. Bagaimana membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my. Bagaimana membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my. Bagaimana membahagikan masa untuk kerjaya, keluarga dan pembelajaran? Apa yang anda perlukan adalah fleksibiliti. Pembelajaran menjadi mudah apabila semuanya berada di hujung jari. Jadualkan pembelajaran anda pada bila-bila masa di mana sahaja. Alami pembelajaran fleksibel di Open University Malaysia. Tidak perlu pergi jauh, belajar dari rumah sahaja tentunya memberi nilai yang baik kepada wang anda. Bimbang dengan pengiktirafan program anda? Program kami diakreditasi MQA serta diiktiraf JPA dan badan profesional. Sekiranya anda tidak memenuhi syarat kemasukan, anda boleh menggunakan pengalaman untuk mendaftar. Jimat wang dan tenaga apabila anda boleh kurangkan tempoh pengajian melalui anugerah kredit apel. Nikmati ganjaran menarik sekiranya anda mendaftar awal. Diskaun hebat menanti anda. Daftar dalam talian sekarang di oum.edu.my.